at that time, I was like maybe early 20s, late teens, like you know when you get your first job. I got my first credit card, straight fresh out of a first job, right? And then you're like, oh fuck, I have this much limit on my. I'm like, I got a sick limit on my credit, bro. I'm telling you,
you're an idiot. Hi and welcome to the Cameraman Show. My name's Kartik.
I'm Manav.
And in this podcast series, we talk all things weddings, cameras and business. Today's an interesting episode because Manav and I were sitting down and just reflecting on our entire story.
I feel like you say that like every episode. Today's an interesting
every episode's an interesting episode.
Imagine someone like listening to this back to back and then every single episode starts with, oh, today's an interesting episode.
It's weird because I don't even know how to ever start an episode. I'm like, hey, this topic's interesting. I guess I have to announce that it's interesting. Look, today's a shit episode. Go fuck yourselves. Look, whether you find it interesting, fuck, I don't know. I don't care. Today is a different episode. Could we say that?
Yeah, sure.
Where Manav and I were talking about, so how did we start wedding photography and how do we get into it? And we're like, hey, it'd actually be pretty cool to just write down a bunch of tips and points as to what we did when we started, but how we went from part-time to full-time photography. Because I feel like if I could give myself a whole bunch of tips and guidance if I was first starting
Looking
out,
back,
bruh, my journey would have been that much more smoother. It would have been more efficient. I would have gotten a lot more done. I would have grown a lot faster as well. So we're just going to dive straight in. And we're just going to go...
Actually, before we dive straight in, I want to... How about you tell about how you actually started? And then I'll go and I'll say how I started into photography.
Yeah,
what made you start?
Well,
what made you want to be a photographer?
Okay, so a very top line summary, and this is probably a podcast episode for another day, but I read a book. I read a book on how to find your passion and purpose. Ikigai, shout out to that book, which basically asks you 4 questions. What do you like? What are you good at? What does the world need? What can you get paid for? When you answer those 4 questions, it gives you what you're supposedly passionate towards. Mine happened to be wedding photography. I was in corporate at the time, and I wasn't very happy. I didn't have a very purpose-driven life. No shit or no disrespect to people in 9 to 5. If that works for you, happy days. For me, I wasn't happy for it. So I wanted to get it out. I wanted it out. And photography was that thing for me. Bought a camera, which is the 5D Mark IV. I went all in.
We went all in?
All
Just
in.
like me.
Yeah, we went all in and never looked back.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I started because one of my mates got into photography and I was just obviously someone you spend a lot of time with. And I would see him take photos. I was like, oh, fuck, this is pretty cool. Like, I want to do it too, right? Then I kind of started off with like that. And I didn't even have it in mind that I want to be like a wedding photographer. Or I even want to shoot couples or even people, right? The first time I was thinking of getting a camera and I'm thinking of doing photos, just like taking like nature photos or like flowers or like random shit, right? I was just like...
Because otherwise, what were you doing before that?
Intrigued.
What were you doing before that?
Did accounting in uni,
right? Like a little brown bitch you were. No shout out, no disrespect to any accountants.
Good Indian boy.
Very good boy.
So accounting in uni, and it was like a corporate job.
Standard stuff.
Standard stuff. But the first time I wanted to do photography was, as I said, I looked at my mate doing it, right? And then at that time, I was like maybe early 20s, late teens, like you know when you get your first job. I got my first credit card, straight fresh out of a first job, right? And then you're like, oh fuck, I have this much limit on my. I'm like, I got a sick limit on my credit, bro. I'm telling you,
you're an idiot.
No, legit. When I started doing photography, I think maybe I got like a cheap camera first and then I just started shooting. Like I did maybe like one event, and at that point, after I did that one event, I was like, fuck, I gotta go all in.
Wow.
I don't know why. I don't know if we recommend this for people.
Tip number 1, go all in.
I don't know if I recommend it, but bro, I'm telling you, this is back when I started, was like when 5D Mark III
came out. You started
released,
before
right?
me, obviously.
5D Mark III was released, or just about to release around there.
Decent full frame camera at the time.
At the time, it was one of the best full frame cameras at the time.
On the market.
And this was maybe 2012 or 2013, around there. I don't know. I think the camera came out around there somewhere. And I, being an idiot, I ordered 2 camera bodies, not even 1 camera body. Yeah.
Are you insane?
Bro, I was like watching YouTube videos back then and be like, people are like, oh, you should have 2 camera bodies, which you should have 2 camera bodies.
You should also definitely have 2 camera bodies.
I ordered 2 5D Mark IIIs at once, right? Great imports from like fucking one of those like Hong Kong websites because it was cheaper. Questionable. It was cheaper, right? And 2 cameras and 2 lenses and 2 flashes all at
You're
once.
insane.
Right? And mind you, those 2 lenses weren't cheap. This was like maybe like an 85 and a 35 maybe,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Like primes.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because I wanted to shoot primes.
Yeah,
I was like,
gotcha.
oh,
Fuck
then
variable lenses.
back then all the videos was like, oh, you know, I mean, probably it's still true to some extent that you can't get the quality you get out of like a prime lens out of a zoom lens, right?
To an extent.
So I was like, I have to have a wide, but like the only one lens I can afford, but I also want like sick photos. So I was like, go 35, 85, right? And they were both like 1.2, 1.4, right?
Oh,
like
so they stopped down. Yeah,
XC, those are expensive lenses, right? And shout out to anyone who's shot with an 85 1.2 original Canon
OG,
lens, OG
the
one,
OG
right?
lens.
Yeah. Like the focus is slow as fuck, but some of the sickest shots it takes, right? So it's worth it, whatever. But anyway, so I went all in. Maybe
How much did you spend?
Maybe like 12 grand or something.
Tip number 1: if you're not willing to spend 8 to 12 grand, go fuck yourself.
No, legit. Maybe spend like 12,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
this is AUD. So
AUD,
if anyone who's watching this from
Probably
America,
half
they're
that
like
for USD or pounds.
Yeah. If anyone's watching this from the US or something, I didn't get ripped off. This is Australia.
This is Australia. We're Aussie photographers. Yeah.
Went all in, and mind you, I went all in, not even having 1 gig lined up.
Not even having any shred of experience.
I did not have any jobs lined up.
Yeah.
But I made up my mind. I'm like, this is what I want to do.
Hopefully by this point also some pop-up would have come up by on if you're watching the YouTube video of our Instagram, because we're going to add this just our profile so you can see what we do.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, look,
like,
by the way,
like,
I ain't producing this shit in my first year, let alone 2-3 years. It took a while. But it speaks volumes when you've been doing it for a while. And
obviously, and mind you, I don't recommend this to any new photographer to go out there and spend like $12,000, $15,000 without have any job lined up.
But if I'm going to challenge you, because I think I always should, there is something about going all in which does like get the ball rolling a lot faster than anybody else. So one of the first points I'll bring up into this is about context and whatnot.
Also, this is how people end up like homeless. Don't fucking listen to this guy and be like, go all in on everything.
Well, this is going to tie into the first point. So I'm glad that you said this, because the first point that the entire thing on how to go part-time to full-time is just have some goddamn self-awareness. Okay?
Which I clearly didn't have at the time.
I don't think any of us had.
At the time I started.
Have self-awareness in the sense that you need to understand what's the context, where you're at, how old are you, what responsibilities do you have, right? Like, figure out. I was a uni student going into full-time corporate job. As far as I'm concerned, you were a full-time worker.
I was a full-time worker and I was doing this on the weekends.
Okay, right? Now we're probably early 20s when we start this. I think I was about 22.
Yeah, I'd say like early 20s.
Okay,
yeah.
None of us are married, maybe dating, if anything, and no serious commitments, no mortgages to pay, no kids to feed, no cats to fucking feed either. Shout out to Marta's got 3 cats. So context is very important here. Yeah. So if you're watching this going, oh, I really want to transition. First of all, I'm not saying quit your job, spend $12,000, go all out, don't, otherwise if you don't, you're fucking idiot. No, I'm not saying that shit. What I'm saying is understand and have self-awareness to recognize what's the context here. Like, where are you guys at? What's your situation like? Because none of the next couple of points will matter if you don't get your context down pat. You know what I mean? Yeah. So something food for thought in terms of like figuring out how to transition is just recognize your context first.
And like, you don't have to like, we're not saying just quit your full-time job or just like out of nowhere just start doing photography like straight away. Like it's like for a lot of people this is like you will be doing a full-time job 9 to 5 Monday to Friday.
Assuming that's what you do, you could be doing security or something
whatever
like that.
It is. Like you will have to
your main gig, whatever your main gig is.
You'll have to do this for a while. On the side,
even if you're a uni student, by the way, because I know there are a few uni student photographers out there.
Exactly.
I know,
but once again, for them, the main thing is uni. Like you'll have to have something main, and this is like your side. Whatever.
So your main gig might not actually be work. It could be like legit just studying. Or if I know some photographers who are mothers who just started, and your main gig is being a mum.
Yeah,
that's a big main gig. So recognize what that main gig is, and so you're saying you don't have to get rid of that. You can still do that on this.
Yeah, this will happen on the side for a while to a point, which is once I'm going to bring it back to how I did it. Is like I was doing this on the sides. You know how we started off 21st birthday parties. Back in the days, good old 21st, 80s, whatever, right? Before we start shooting weddings.
Practice on all those events. Build the confidence, build the skill.
I mean, not even practice, because like at that point, I didn't even know if I was going to do weddings, right? It was just
why not? Hobby.
Bro, when you're young, like early 20s, like who the fuck even knows what you want to do, right? And at that time, to me, it was just like, oh, this is cool. I'm making like $500 on a weekend, right?
Fucking high roller, right? They see me rolling. They hate it. Yeah, I get
But basically, like, like at that point, I wasn't even thinking about wedding photography at all.
Gotcha.
It was just about, it's just something that it pays really well for that time.
For that time.
Like, especially if you're like a uni student.
$500 is decent
But if
money.
you're a uni student and you can do like a 21st birthday party on like a Friday night or Saturday night, even if you charge like $500 for it, like $1,000 a week,
Bruh.
like 15 years ago, 10 years ago,
That's a lot of
as
money.
a uni student,
Yeah,
right?
that's a lot
like,
of money.
Yeah.
And also like as a uni
Well, like,
student.
and by the way, back then you're looking at like normal paying jobs were like under $20 an hour.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't pay, you got like $15, $20 an hour back then, right? Nowadays you can get like 30, 35, whatever, right?
Normal. Yeah. So I get it because you're at a time where you could make a lot of money for being just, relatively young, and your main gig probably would have been uni, and your main gig after that would have been full-time work.
Yeah.
So understand and recognize that I think what Mana's trying to say is just literally like you don't have to quit all of that shit. Unless, and again, by context, it's bad emotionally, you're just not happy, you just want to, or you want to do what we did and just go all in. Okay, cool. But just recognize your context. The part that I wanted to make a point out in terms of how we transitioned is you don't have to spend over and upwards of $8,000 like we did. You don't have to do that shit.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah. You can buy the most.
Then you have to buy like a specific camera because it like, you know how cameras were, right?
Yeah.
Like there would be a clear difference between like, for example, Canon. 5D Mark III was the best full frame camera back then, right? Nothing else even came close because Canon's color science, the autofocus they had, whatever. Now you can even get it into the market with like a very cheap camera. The full frame, the full frame cameras have become so much cheaper than before, right? So definitely you don't need to spend like $8,000.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So do your research, understand your finances, and make sure you're like, okay, either you have a credit card like Manav did, or you have savings like I did. Actually, I don't even recommend what you did at all. That's pretty risky.
Yeah, I was very...
Because you didn't even know if you pay that shit off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
No, look, I was like, at that point, I think I was in uni. And I had I think I was working like security or something, right? So I was like, look, worst case scenario, I don't get any job.
Yeah. You'll eventually
I was living with my parents, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll pay on my credit card. It's fine. Like, it's fine, whatever. If it's,
and then you'll just keep the cameras, do it casually as is.
Yeah. But if you're living, if you're renting by yourself, bro, don't do that shit.
Yeah.
Don't put like $12,000 something. Yeah, that's a very
it's
risky.
proper messed up.
Yeah.
It's probably messed up. But I think just understanding your finances is a great way to just look at, okay, cool. If I need to transition or even start, just you don't have to go all in too quickly. You can just buy the basic models with some decent lens just to kickstart your entire career.
And also, I think you can like one other thing is like just surround yourself with people that are doing the same thing as well.
Yes, that's a good
and
point.
by that means, I mean also you can second shoot for other people, right? Because if you know someone that is already an established photographer, right? Or even if you don't know someone, just message them if you're starting out. Hey, I want to get into photography. I mean, obviously do a little bit of practice before you do this, right? You don't want to rock up to like a main wedding photographer and then ask them to teach you how to take a photo. Like they're not going to do that, right?
Yeah, I think
like a lot of second photographers that contact you or contact me, like we need them to already be at a certain level, before we want to give them jobs, right?
It's a hard space because you have no portfolio, perhaps at this point, or maybe as a part timer, you're like, oh, I've got something, but I want to ramp this up. I think really surrounding yourself with the key people are going to do two things. One, open you up for networking capabilities, but two, also help to inspire you and guide you. So I think a lot of photographers at this point just sort of stick to their own. They're not really going too far out in terms of like, networking, reaching out. And back then when I started, Instagram wasn't as big, right? People weren't DMing as well. DMing came later on in terms of the Instagram career. But at the start, I just knew of people and brands on Facebook because Facebook was the main form of advertising at the time. And all it took for me was to start messaging random businesses and be like, hey, do you want to collab or can I, come and join or shadow you or something? And whether they do or whether they don't, maybe, that's a numbers game. But realistically, you're going to have people who are just more talented than you, more educated than you, more guided than you, who have
and we're
the
not
right
saying
networks.
like we're like the best photographers in the world or something, bro. We have a long way to even go. Like I'm learning new things every day in this, right? Like
all the time.
And which goes back to your last point, which is like you have to be able to collaborate with people. Like that's something you want to focus on heavily while you're still part time, right? Because the only way to get your future couples to see your work is if you collaborate a fuck ton.
Yeah.
Like you put a lot of shit out there, right?
Yep.
That's the only way they're going to see you.
Yeah, correct.
Assuming this is like you don't want to be a second shooter forever. Because obviously some people just want to be second shooters, which is fine.
And that's fine because then it takes out the hassle.
We have full-time second shooters that just, only second shoot, and they don't have their own businesses, they don't have their own portfolios, but they're really good at doing what they do, right?
Correct.
And the pros of being like a second shooter like that is like you don't have to deal with clients. You don't have to deal with any emails. You literally just got to rock up, do your shoot, get paid, go home, and they get paid decent, right?
Yeah.
But if you, assuming that you do want your own business and you want to be someone that wants to be a full-time wedding photography business, then definitely I think one way to get there is to collaborate, like with makeup artists.
Yeah.
I think you've done a few collaborations.
I have, and I think we'll talk about this in a bit, but I think tying in terms of that point of surrounding yourself with the right people, it's also potentially worth going, hey, can I get a full-time or, someone like a mentor, someone to educate and guide me? Now, you and I'm pretty sure did the same thing. We just YouTubed the shit out of everything we had to learn. And I think YouTube was our unofficial mentor. YouTube Academy, shout out to them.
Yeah.
But if I could give
really,
myself...
like, you can learn anything of YouTube. Especially photography. There's so many videos out there.
There is, you're right. Yeah. You can learn everything off of YouTube. But I think I would have had a more streamlined approach if I had someone going, let me take out the fluff for you. Let me just give you what you need right now. Yeah. This is what's going to help you grow.
Get you there quicker.
Yeah. I wish I had someone like that and I didn't. And in fact, now I have photographers reaching out to me going, hey, like, I kind of want to learn from you. And we might go for coffee, and I've done this before. But I'd be like, mate, like, I just needed you to centralize your focus a little bit. You're thinking of this, don't worry about that. Just focus on this. And you become a very unofficial mentor at that point. But if I was at that point where I just started out, I would love to have just gone, could I have gone to one person who could just give me a step-by-step guidance to just educate me, mentor me, give me objective feedback, even though it's a subjective field, and give me some level of like inspiration or, motivation to persevere through. And having a mentor can really just amp you up in terms of going from part-time to full-time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't often think about when they're into this space.
Yeah.
And they're going, hey, like, maybe if I had someone to guide me, it might actually work out.
Yeah. And going back to the collaboration point we were talking about before, I want you to talk about a little bit how when you started, because I'm like, out of both of us, I feel like you collaborated way more with people than I have. So what kind of vendors would you recommend collaborating with the most to be able to take your business full time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, we're wedding photographers, right? So you just need to be, what's relatable to wedding photography? Okay, so what are the brands that I would potentially work with? You'd work with clothing brands, that's the biggest one. You'd work with hair and makeup artists, that's the second one. You'd also work with jewelry vendors, especially. Maybe even venues, because venues always host weddings.
Yeah.
Potentially
even get on the list of a wedding venue that would like recommend you to the clients that come there. Yeah.
But you should be smart about it, because there's going to be people who also start alongside you that you can go, hey, I just realized that I launched 6 months ago. So did this hair and makeup artist. We've got vetted interest here. Why would me reaching out to someone who's got 500,000 followers, that's DMs is never going to reach them, let's be honest.
Yeah.
To go,
forget 500,000. Most of the people with like 10,000 followers will ignore them. But and I'm not saying that they'll ignore you because they think you're not good enough. It's just they're too busy.
Well,
if you're already a full-time photographer,
you're right.
Like you don't have time to do collaborations.
Yep, you're right, but I also still think people would ignore you because they'll be like, "Well, who are you? What can you bring to the table?" And it's savage and it's brutal, but it's the truth. It's like
they what it's like. We've been turned down before.
We have
turned down people before.
Yeah, I've turned down people, and I've been turned down, and it's very normal. Like you can't take it personally, by the way.
You
just have to be like, "No, this is just business. Yeah, it is what it is." You just need to be able to provide value.
Yeah,
and that's what. Whenever I've gone into this collabs when I first started, I'm like, I need to provide the most value here. And bro, I was like a slut. I was sliding into so many people's DMs of all different vendors from all different industries. I wanted to be known that, hey, I'm the new kid in town. I'm like, take this shit seriously. Let's freaking go. I'm passionate. I'm dedicated. I was literally DMing every brand within the South Asian sort of space in Sydney going, hey, I'd love to create content. Hey, I'd love to create content. Hey, and some of this content I've either taken down now because it was shit. Some of it stays on time. Some of it stays up on my Instagram because it was really good. But at the time, your biggest ideal factor is how do I make the most noise possible to get self-awareness? We're assuming, by the way, that from part-time to full-time, you probably don't have too much brand awareness and recognition because not many people know who you are. So growing your socials is a really important thing that really will boost and amp up, doing your collaborations.
So you're saying collaborate with other people that are on the same level as you when you're starting out. So for example, someone like that's a new makeup artist, someone who just started a decoration business, someone that's like,
you would have a higher chance of them saying yes.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to discourage people from aiming for the stars and going, hey, can I get someone who's got 10K followers plus? And maybe there are some very wonderful people who'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Like for sure. Come along. No problems. Let's do this. Awesome. Did I have that experience? No.
Yeah. But also like people, I just want to put this out there that people that do this say no, that they don't want to collaborate with another vendor or whatever because they're too busy. Maybe people think like that's like a shitty thing to do, but you got to understand they have a business to run and they're like doing this full time. And not anybody got time to do this shit. And that's not to be like, you're not trying to be rude to the person who's trying to collaborate with you. You're simply saying that, hey, I got to prioritize that I have bills to pay.
Which is
right?
why you can't take it personally. You cannot take this personally.
Now, once you do make content, let's say you have a bunch of photos that you can put up. Now those photos or videos that you put up are not getting the reach that you wanted to. What's one thing that you can do to get the reach out?
Well, I mean, I typically resort to Instagram sponsored ads. So for those of you who may have a budget, $5 a day, did all right. Like I used to get some leads come through. And it was good because it put my content in front of people who never were following me and it helped gain attraction.
And now you targeted these ads to like area specific or whatever?
Yeah, like you go specifics here. So you want to target anywhere from between, ages 21 to, 35, male and women who like South Asian content, who live in a particular city that you live in, who are maybe newly engaged, and there's a whole bunch of information on how to find specific sponsored ads.
And do you think that
yeah, for sure,
definitely help?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I think asking yourself right now if your priorities aren't, and this is why getting your priorities in check is really important. Like maybe putting money behind this business that you just gone into is a bit difficult. What I'm trying to go down the road of going is we're at a day and age right now where going viral is very easy now, more than ever. Bruh, from doing a personal button pop video on my chest and getting literally 2 million views, it's very easy to create content from your phone that doesn't require too much effort to help you get known. And I think, yes, you can do sponsored ads. So I'm just kind of challenging my own point in a way, but you can also just reach people organically, provided your content's pretty good. And so, go on.
And not only someone going from a part-time to full-time, I feel like you did this when you went to London as well, when you were already a full-time wedding photographer. And now you have, because obviously you moved to London for a year and a half.
Yep.
And before moving to London, you would have run like shit ton of sponsor ads in London, right?
Everything possible. And it was very slow. No one knew who I was. Yeah. So I'm like, great, now it's time for me to create content. And I went
this is actually pretty recent. It's only like a couple of years ago, right? What we're talking about right now, you literally have done this recently, collaborating with people in London.
Just because I had maybe 15K at the time, 14K at the time followers, doesn't mean I forget any of these steps. I still do it. As an established business, I've been running in now my 8th year. I still had to be that person that literally almost started from scratch.
Yeah.
I moved to another city. And no one knew who I was. Yeah. I had to pull out the OG textbook of all my ideas and go through all of that as well. But collaborating with others was a really key point in terms of building an audience, to getting recognized, having networking capabilities, to then help transition my business from part-time to full-time.
And this moves on to the next point, which is about you moving to London, which is our next point as well, is shoot with influencers who have large followings to put your name out there. And I feel like this is something that you've done.
Yeah. So I remember sometimes being smart about collaborating goes a long way. So yes, one area is going collaborate with people who are in your reach, your numbers as well, and people who are in the sort of the same aspect or infancy of their business as well. But sometimes it's about reaching out to people who might have a bit more of an influential pool. And what I mean by that is right now I'm actually doing it because I'm doing it for a separate brand that I'm building on the side. But can we attract influencers or couples that might have a bit of a following?
And not even couples. I feel like you could even shoot a model.
A solo model.
And you're probably more likely to get a yes from them because they don't they get free photos. They get free content.
Yeah, they get free content.
Now, for example, you've had all these photos up on your Instagram that you've shot in Sydney, right? Now you can send that to someone in London. Be like, hey, look, this is my work.
Yep.
I'm coming to London. I'll give you a bunch of free photos, and in return, we just collaborate on Instagram. And
you take it a step further and you go to that solo model who's an influencer, got maybe 20, 30,000 followers. Go, hey, how would you feel about putting on a bridal dress? Okay, great. Bridal like vendor is now involved. Oh, hey, by the way, this is hair and makeup artist I know.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
Or you get the model on first, and then you go to another vendor and be like, "Hey, I've got this model on board.
Just came through. Yeah,
and this is my work, and we want to collaborate, but we want your jewelry or your outfit or whatever."
So sometimes when you put together a team for a collaboration, it legit, like, depending on who's on that team, can sway a lot of people.
Yep.
Oh shit, that person's involved. I know their work's really good. And when I first started, I worked with a hair and makeup artist for the first time that I knew to have quite a solid amount of social following, and it was because of that person that it enabled the group to grow to the size that it did, to bring on the clothing brands that we had, to bring on the models that we did. My skill was my skill. I was still learning. I was still growing. It would have been better, but but that person on that team allowed me to sort of expand my reach and network to a bigger audience. And I think you can be smart when you organize these collaborative campaigns to go, I need the most awareness, which is going to help with conversion, which is going to help with my business go part-time to full-time. But in terms of doing those campaigns, can I get these influential people on?
What about if, let's say, you take photos and you post them up and you don't really get the reach you want, or you are doing something which is not working, right? The thing that comes to my mind is you need to have self-awareness to know something's not working, right? And you need to be willing to be able to take criticism as one of the, I think that's the one thing that I run into the most.
Imagine you're just really shit. Like, obviously, hopefully
But I mean, look, everyone is shit and they get better. Like anything in life, the more you practice it, then you're going to get better at it, right?
You got to put in the hours.
Yeah, like I was shit when I started.
We all were.
I hope I'm not shit right now. I mean, I'm making 6 figures out of this business, so I'm hoping I'm not shit.
Surely we're not that bad.
Yeah. But not to toot my own horn, but I really think you need to be willing to take criticism on, and obviously, like, don't take criticism on from someone who knows nothing about what you know.
And this is why having a mentor is important, because you would look at that mentor to go, this person is where I would like to be. They are walking, talking, evidential proof. How do I be that person?
But what about if, okay, I'm going to give a counter argument to this. You really like a photographer and you really love their work, and now you've gone up, asked them something, and they've given you wrong advice on purpose because they are like very territorial. And I know you've run into this where a lot of photographers are very territorial. And you told me about this.
They don't want to give you trade secrets.
Yeah, they don't want to give you trade secrets. They don't even want you there. I know, especially this happened to you when you moved to London a lot, right? You ran into a lot of photographers there that were very territorial.
Yeah, they're like, you can shoot for us and learn, but we ain't
telling you shit.
Yeah. We're basically like, we own you, but we ain't giving you trade secrets.
And mind you, they could give you a wrong advice on purpose
there are some,
to set you off onto the wrong path.
At the end of the day, like,
once again, as we said, goes back to self-awareness.
True, but you can't assume that just because you're being self-aware that the world's not going to be a harsh place. It obviously, like, it can be. So people sometimes are just dickheads, and you just have to vet them out and understand: does this person have my best interest?
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to you understanding what advice they're giving, where their business is currently at. Is their advice matching up with where you also want to be? And does it make sense to you?
Yes. I think it also comes down to the mindset as well. Like, as I said, a lot of photographers have that, like, the famine mindset. Now, not even photographers, any industry where someone is leading or someone is on top of the industry, they don't want to share with anyone else. They don't want any competition, right? So it also comes down to that mindset. And I feel like the better way, I mean, some people might say, why the fuck are we doing this together when we are competitors?
It's so funny
because we're both in Sydney. We're both shooting weddings.
And I've never once ever looked at you as like a direct competitor. But there are people who go, oh no, I can't do this with that person.
I can't tell you where I can't share something.
And oh no. Like, no, like, I think it's a very, again, it's an insecurity piece. Like, you're afraid that if I do this, I'm going to lose. But no, if I help this, I
feel like in the end, everyone ends up winning.
Yeah.
Right?
If I help this person, they're going to win. And you know what? Tomorrow, this person's going to know something. That's
and
going to
they might tell me.
Yeah. But I think, like, this comes down to your relationships, right? Like, you're new in this scene, you're doing it part-time, you're going, oh, what could I really do to help transition me, like, full-time? Honestly, I think my policy from day dot has never changed. Be the person in the room that offers the most value. Right? And I stand by that, not just as a professional, as a human being, right? Like, when you sort of go into a room and you're with the mindset of going, and this is obviously, like, Gary Vee's sort of one of his many approaches, but if I can offer the most value in the room, like just give, and don't even ask for anything, you will see what the laws of karma does in return. There are so many people who I've had the pleasure of working with that all I want to do is be like, hey, how can I create something for you? How can let me just do something for you. I don't even care about what it does for me. Let me just help you out in some sort of way. And it pays dividends. Might not come to front of mind at the moment, but it pays dividends. Like doing a campaign shoot with a clothing brand that is just starting out, I can guarantee you right now, I've done probably literally like, not even kidding you, 50 free collaborative campaigns for like decent sized clothing brands in Sydney. And I can promise you right now, that has like enabled me to book in weddings, because you might do something for free, which is actually a big point here to transition from part-time to full-time. You could do something for free 10 times. But do you mean to tell me that you wouldn't do it again if even that one time converted you a 10,000 K paying client? Like you would go, okay, if shooting for free maybe once or twice every so often ends up getting me exposure that ends up helping someone find me and they end up becoming a paid client, that's what I want it for. When I do all these campaigns when I first started, I never cared about like initially just that campaign. I always went in the mindset of going, I'm coming here to add value. Someone is going to look at this and go, hey, this person's actually all right. I want to book this person. And that was kind of like where it ended up paying dividends subconsciously, where you might not see it straight off the bat, but behind the scenes, behind closed doors, it pays dividends. There's it's like a machine that's sort of building in the background. Like your brand awareness is growing, your brand value is growing, who you are as an owner is growing, your photography reach is growing. It literally comes around at some point to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. And I think it also this whole thing also goes back to whether you want to get into photography for just purely money, which is probably not a right thing to think. I mean, I get it. It's a business. You got to make money on stuff.
Yeah.
But what's your end goal? Why did you even get into photography, right? Like people that got into photography just for money, they will have more of that mindset where they don't want competition. They want to like, hoard everything to themselves. If you go into the photography because you love taking photos and money is the thing that comes with it, because obviously you charge for your services and whatever. And now if a client comes to me and I don't book them and you ended up booking them, bro, good for you. You know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on the weekend and I'm going to enjoy my life.
Yeah, you're going to literally relax whilst I'm going to be like busting my ass off.
It's fine. And the thing is, everything always comes back into balance,
100%,
right?
100%.
And I'm big on having life balance. Massively. Because I have been there where I have taken on too many weddings and then I realize, oh fuck, I shouldn't have taken these many weddings, right?
Yeah.
And it kills your daily life. Yeah. So I'm all for having a balanced lifestyle when you're a photographer. And I know we're going a bit off topic here right now, but this relates back to how you need to be able to be okay with others in the space and knowing that like, hey, I'm not going to shoot all the weddings in Sydney.
You're not,
right?
No.
And even if you do, there's always going to be more weddings.
Correct.
I don't know why people think there's not enough work out there for everyone.
There's this like scarcity mindset, right? Where you're looking at something and going, oh, I'm not going to get enough.
Yeah.
There is so much work out there.
Yeah.
There is so much work for people to go, you know what? In fact, I'm going to help somebody else find their work.
Yeah.
Because there's more than enough for me. And building the right team with the right people, building the right social network with the right people, and people that you genuinely know have your vetted interest are going to help elevate your business from part-time to full-time. And all I wanted to do was make sure I surrounded myself with like-minded individuals who were creative as shit, better than I was. Because you know that quote, like if you hang around like the average of the five, you're going to be the sixth average person.
Yeah.
You hang around fucking dickheads, you're going to be the sixth dickhead.
Yeah.
You hang around five creative, talented entrepreneurs who are hustlers, who are really great at what they do, you're going to be the sixth. That was my mindset. I wanted to know every amazing, talented photographer in Sydney, and I wanted to know how could I learn from that person or give back to that person.
Well, I remember you telling me this a while ago, where you were DMing couples when you started. I think that's probably like a good way to like.
Okay, yeah. So for those of you who are like, okay, we want a bit more like tangible, practical advice, I say here's a challenge for you, and there's no excuse. So like, by the way, this comes with a level of mindset and ambition. So if you go do it, you go do it. You go hard, you go hard proper. Every day when I first started out, I would DM 5 couples or 5 people a day. Now these 5 people could range from a hair and makeup artist to a couple to a friend of mine, someone who I know maybe is in a relationship, to a jewelry vendor, to a venue, anyone that I knew is in the space that's going to help move my needle just ever so slightly. because I didn't care about going 0 to 100. I just wanted to move one more step. Bruh, like when you go to the gym, you don't walk into the gym going, after day 1, I'm going to get freaking shredded. You walk into the gym and going, right now, I'm going to move the needle a little bit. All I was focusing on is what can move the needle 1% closer to my goal. And DMing 5 people every single day religiously without fail for 1 solid year was exactly what I did my first year. And it's exactly what I did last year in London. So guys, just for context, I'm in my 8th year now. I have a decent sized following. Again, not tooting my own horn. I have built a 6-figure business. Very grateful through God's grace and very grateful for what I have. But I am still resorting to these tactics. And it blows my mind when people are going, oh, I can't do that. I got like a business. I got a reputation. Bruh, Gary V, so many entrepreneurs go and give back because they're like, you know what? I just want to give to my audience. I just want to give to people. Not even an audience. Be like, I've got something to give to someone because I have a skill. Why not?
Yeah.
Bruh, I literally do free couple photo shoots all the time. And I'm like, I get it. Someone's like, nah, I know your worth. Like, you got to charge for that shit. Bruh, go F yourself. Like, it's because of that mindset.
Mind you, like, I'm going to counter this. Like, do free stuff. But obviously you have to, like, if you're getting paid over free, you're definitely going to take a paid, right?
Sure.
This would be something if you have, like, nothing on and you feel like you need to expand your portfolio.
Okay,
then you go and do the free thing, right?
Counter again, right?
Yeah.
Counter to your counter.
Yeah.
I think it's about, back to what we said. I think it's about your self-awareness piece. So let's just assume you're in a financial struggle and you will need to prioritize income over anything, and you already have a full-time and your part-time photography is taking the lead. Okay, great, go do that. But if there is a scope here to go, if I could forego that paid gig for that birthday, for instance, but then do a free couple photo shoot with someone who happens to maybe have 50,000 followers. I mean...
Yeah, I think especially these days when you can like actually collaborate on Instagram where it shows up on both feeds. I think it's definitely worth it.
I think, look, your circumstances are going to dictate how hard you go, which is going to feed into how quickly you can go from part-time to full-time. And also, we're looking at it this lens from wedding photography specifically. I know that these strategies and all the things that we're talking about could also apply in other contexts of different industries within photography. We're just speaking as wedding photographers here on this channel. But these strategies, these tips, these tactics, the mindset is so transferable.
Yeah.
Like
to anything pretty much out there,
whether you're a newborn, food photographer, car photographer, I suppose, or whatever other industry there is.
Any type pretty much. Yeah. Fair enough.
If you're at this point where you're probably going, oh, like, hey, I've got a few tips that helped me, let us know. Let us know in the comment section below. Email us. We are always very interested to know like a little bit more about our audience and how they transitioned. Was there any parts or tips that you would go, oh, this actually helped me transition from part-time to full-time?
Bro, I'm like, I freaking bought a $12,000 camera on a credit card. I don't think I should tell anyone anything.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point.
Anyways, if you like this one, we'll probably wrap it up now. We'll see you on the next one. And like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace.